All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. There's a story on page 8, and it's on mileage. Audit. MPs made 11 million fictitious mileage claims. That story is on the Standard, page 8. They say members of parliament are on the spot once again over fictitious mileage claims amounting to more than 11 million shillings. In a report by the Auditor General, Nancy Gadungu, some lawmakers exaggerated mileage claims for up to 3 times the actual amount, while others received domestic and foreign subsistence allowance all at the same time. This is not the first time that the rot has been unearthed. In 2015, Parliamentary Service Commission Chairperson Justin Muturi roped in the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, to probe the matter after it emerged that some MPs were claiming mileage for vehicles already written off. Honorable Wang, I'll start with you. Are the members of Parliament swindling Kenyans when it comes to mileage claims?
Trevor, I want to answer this authoritatively because I served in the Parliamentary Service Commission in the last Parliament. The issue of mileage is a claim. Is a claim you make after you travel. You make it at a certain rate that has been set by the SRC. The rate of mileage has been set by the SRC. If you're out of the country, for example, the system automatically blocks you from claiming mileage. The moment you get your per diem to leave the country, the system blocks you. You cannot claim mileage for that particular weekend. The issue that the Auditor General is raising, which is that there are MPs who, for the same weekend, claimed mileage, maybe three times. Is that, I've seen that, that the same weekend you're paid mileage 3 times. That's criminal. So that, I think those specific, the specific claims should be probed. If it is truly the case that somebody for that same weekend, which is very, very unlikely, but if that happened, then that should be isolated, investigated, and if somebody is found to have done that, then that particular person held responsible. But this issue of making a blanket statement that MPs are, there's a scandal and they are making false, because you're looking at 11 million shillings, which means that this particular 1 or 2 or 3 members, I don't know who what exactly they are, made claims or documents show that they made claims, then those specific issues should be isolated and dealt with, criminally. I mean, just like anybody would be dealt with. But don't generalize in such a way that you make the entire parliament look like people are making fictitious.
Is there a set standard for kilometers mileage? Because they're saying that people claim up to 3 times the actual amount. Is there a set standard? When
you come to parliament, Trevor, the first thing you do, you go to public works. You say where your home is. Your home. Because you're taken not to the farthest point in your constituency, to your home. So what public works does, they measure from Nairobi to your home. Now, with that certificate from public works, you come to parliament and you file it that this is where my home is and this is the distance. That is the distance that you use to claim your mileage. So it's not arbitrary. I cannot just come and say, oh, I have traveled 700 kilometers. No. My home has been measured, and that is the claim that I can make. So it is very, very structured. It is very, very tightened. It is a negotiation that was had with the SRC when I served in the Parliamentary Service Commission. That does not mean that there cannot be 1 or 2 cases of, maybe abuse of the system or lack of documents or whatever it is that could have happened to result in this. Those cases should be isolated and dealt with so that the entire parliament does not look like people are... Now, if I walk out of here, people will say, oh, these ones are the ones stealing money, they are robbing Kenyans. No. These cases should be isolated. And even if the EACC deals with them, let the EACC deal with those cases if they are truly true. But majority of the members, you just make a claim, as you travel.
Ometangi?
Trevor, as a member of parliament from Kiambu, I don't qualify to be paid mileage.
That's true.
I have never been paid in my life. So I don't even know how the system works. I mean, to be paid mileage.
Yeah.
But all I would be saying is that it is very scandalous that a member of parliament would engage in that kind of act, if indeed it has has been done. So I don't know whether the audit report that was being looked at by members of the media who brought out this story, whether they looked at it before the report has been placed before a committee and then the claims investigated and authenticated, or whether it was just a plain reading of what the auditor then observed. Because I've sat in the Public Accounts Committee for a while.
Yeah.
And it's normally a process. The requirement is that the auditor comes, makes his findings, those findings are tabled in Parliament and then placed before a committee that then investigates and renders a decision after the investigation by the committee. That's a mandate.
Yeah.
And it is at that point that one can pick up then what the resolutions of that committee have been after then hearing both sides. And definitely, I would not want to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I've never received that money.
Okay.
It is important to ensure that the process is exhaustive to the end, such that whatever comes out of it, it can be factual. Sometimes what I've noticed in observing through Public Accounts Committee sittings, sometimes there's an overlap. One could have traveled and they take time to surrender.
Yeah.
They are impressed. The record shows that like they're still out of the country, but they're indeed here. And you might find that maybe at that same time, they may engage in another activity, probably travel up country and do this kind of thing. If you do not surrender impressed at the time of come, and records show that you're still outside, there is a likelihood that it can be captured as though you're still away.
Yeah.
And it can give rise to that kind of claim. But then definitely in a whole pool of 500 members of parliament, it is not unlikely that you would have 1, 2, 3, 4 of rotten apples. And the law must take its course, in my view, such that, you know, parliament is supposed to be the standard bearer. Because that is where the role of oversight is placed for every institution of government in this country. And if then the person given or the institution given that role by our constitution becomes culprit and victim of that kind of travesty, it will be very, very sad. I think the EACC, the DCI, if that becomes necessary after the hearings by the committees, because that's the law, that's the procedure.
Yeah.
They should be able to take cue. But otherwise, I would want to urge my colleagues. I think we've been lucky as members of parliament to have the privilege to serve the people of this country. It is important that we serve with diligence.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not in the habit of defending parliamentarians, but also I like getting to the reality. Let me ask Madam Wanga, just to give us an idea of how much you are paid for mileage. For example, you're from Homa Bay. What is your normal claim if this weekend you go home to visit your constituent back? Just to get an idea.
So the mileage claim is based on the CC of your vehicle and the AA rate, the rates provided by AA for purposes of for each kilometer, because AA has standard rates and you will find them. So if I have a 3-liter engine and my home is 300 kilometers away, you know, so when I go and I come back, I'll probably have a claim of maybe 100 and maybe 111, 102, 103,000.
So average 100,000.
Yeah, average 100,000
per trip.
Yeah, if I make a trip in the week.
That's
I was asking because I was trying to
and come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to compute how much it would cost. What's the entire budget for just the mileage? Is it hundreds of millions?
Yeah.
Or is it, because I don't understand the statement that says that the expenditure includes an amount of 1.3 billion relating to domestic travel and subsistence, of which 11.3 was paid to the members in respect of mileage claims. So I want to know, because if the 3 members got 11 million paid among them, that means they were repeating many times. Because if one trip is 100,000, by the time you make it to 11 million, even if it's 3 of you, that means if you divide 11.3, you know, nearly, that's about 3 point something, nearly 4 million each of you. So how many fake miles claims do you have to make for you to get 4 million? If one trip to a place like Homa Bay, which is very far, is 100,000. You know, it's very many. So I'm just questioning, you know, and at times I don't have a lot of confidence in the way the audit reports are written. I have confidence in the auditor report and the way they do their work, but at times their reporting leaves a lot to be desired. My colleague here has talked about the processes that are taken when you're doing an audit and everything, and the questions, so that, but it is important to have a fail-safe system. If you apply for a loan in a bank and you've been given a loan and you're told you don't qualify unless 2 years have passed, and you apply for another one, I can tell you the bank will, a red, you know, light will go off and they'll tell you, sorry, you can't get it because 2 years have not passed. In the same way, I don't understand how the management of the parliament system cannot say you cannot claim mileage of the same day more than once. You know, because they're being accused that they were paid several mileage claims of the same day. Maybe, and this is, I think, what will eventually come to be, is that they filed the claims on the same day but of various dates. Una accumulate zako zote unaeka. Because the Auditor General, and I say this with a lot of confidence because I've seen it also in my audit reports, at times are not able to make it very clear in their writing that these ones were done different times. They say they did not get the documentation, so they clamp it all together. So, but it's something that needs to be there. Hawa wakora ambao wameclaim hizi na vitu zingine, wakamatwa wapelekwe mbele. You know, let them be told to account for it. It doesn't have to be a long process. Let the speaker say there's an audit report, can you give me a reply to it? Can you recover the money? Very, very quickly. And you sort of that issue, waekwe pingu, wapelekwe mbele, ndio wengine pia wapate adabu, if that is the case. And lastly, this thing of being paid when you have overseas. Senator Matangi was in the UAE the other day, and maybe there's a committee meeting being held. Aren't you allowed to log in online? Because half of you are online, half of you are seated, and you can be overseas and log in online and conduct government business when you're in the US or other places. Shouldn't you be paid an allowance for that if you are if you're outside?
No, you cannot earn a sitting allowance if you are sitting when you are on a trip.
Because they don't know whether you're standing or seated.
Well, I mean, either way. But you know, when you are officially out and you are on government business, I don't think that a law has been put in place. Remember, we just changed the standing orders recently to allow for virtual sittings. And I think that has not been taken care of, so that when a member then logs in and is participating in a meeting, either in parliamentary proceedings or in a committee meeting, and you're not out of the country, I'm not so sure that they have now worked on that to allow for you to be paid for a sitting allowance. I think
this audit report was a bit older. Doesn't capture the reality. I was thinking that, for example, if you're taken ill, and you're a member of parliament, and you're in a hospital recuperating somewhere in a corner of the world, in India, for example, South Africa, and you're well to continue your business, but you're not well to travel, you can still log in and continue with your business because you're elected by people. And do
it online.
Then you're not able to earn the
I don't know whether would that qualify to be sitting allowance. I mean, because I mean,
but I thought
that is something you guys will
you'd have to define what sitting allowance.
Or maybe we should just get rid of the sitting allowances and tell you this is your salary. Anyway. Your salary includes the following duties. Number one, attending these meetings, so many meetings. Number two, doing this, so that your job as a member of parliament is not defections, is not going out rallies, is not insulting people, is not organizing goons to fight others. It's you are paid a back salary, and you get your work done.
Okay, Mwanga, is there a set number of times that you can visit the constituency, or is that where the loophole is?
You visit the constituency. You know the way Parliament works, Trevor. You're expected in your constituency every weekend.
Okay.
That's why you sit from Tuesday to Thursday. Friday, you're expected to be with your constituents and return back on Monday.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to,
So that
respond.
means technically, if we're working with the average of 100,000, you should be earning about 400,000 a month. That's it.
Exactly.
Nothing more.
Nothing more.
But if you check the list, we are sure
But if
that
you
people
don't,
earn more than that.
No, I'm not. And just for clarity,
Yeah.
that's for distance. That's my distance.
Okay.
It's variable because it's based on the CC of your vehicle
Okay.
and the distance to your home. So it varies from one member to another member. Because if my CC
is quite far.
If my CC is 4,000,
Yeah.
or whatever, it will just be the AA as AA has listed it,
Yeah.
and as we have agreed with the SRC.
Okay.
And the systems are quite tight. And by the way, I've just read now in The Nation, it's a bit more clear that the Auditor General noted that 3 lawmakers who were not named were paid 3 times for the same trip they made. So these 3 lawmakers, so it's an isolated case because the systems are quite tight.
Yeah.
The moment you step out of the country and you receive your per diem, there is no way the system will open for you to claim mileage. Just like Dr. Mutua was saying about banks.
Yeah.
It will be a red flag immediately. If you try and say on 29th,
Yeah.
I'm claiming mileage from 29th to 30th, and it shows that 28th you left for Dubai,
Yeah.
there's no way.
Is
The
there a
system will not even open for that claim because these things are automated.
Is there a set limit
as
for
well.
the number of cars you can go with?
No, you just go with the car you registered.
Just one.
The car you registered
Yeah.
is the car you go with.
The reason I'm asking you these questions is because there's allegation here that some MPs allegedly use the mileage to enrich themselves and do not even visit their constituencies. So can you claim it without actually going? There's no one to verify.
That's where the crux of the matter is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where the corruption is, whereby people make claims that they visited, and because it's very hard to quantify, so they're in Nairobi or they're hanging out somewhere, and they claim they have been to the constituency so many times. Is there a way of verifying? Yeah.
No, you don't present.
The system can't verify.
No, you're not expected to present anything saying that I was actually here. It is expected.
Yeah.
By the way, there are cases that have been raised of people who maybe somebody met you at a function somewhere else and you claim mileage. People have brought petitions even, sometimes in Parliament saying that on this day I was with this member and on this day there's a claim of mileage. So members have to actually claim when you're in the court because somebody can meet you somewhere and then come and bring that petition. It's a very serious matter, by the way. You remember the case of Chelagat Mutai. She was actually, taken to court on a case of, this mileage issue. So it's not a matter that members take lightly.
Yeah.
In fact, before you make any false claim, you must be very, very careful because it's a criminal issue.
Yeah.
If you're found, you will just be taken in.
But therein lies a
and
loophole. This we
convicted.
agree on because
Exactly.
you can't
Exactly,
verify
you
this.
can't verify that. Yeah.
Okay. Ometangi, is that now what is the solution for this particular one? Because if you can't verify it and the system can't verify whether they are, anyone can claim anything.
Well, like I said, Trevor, I'm very green in this area because I've never received this money. So, I mean, I'm a
Unfortunately,
stranger,
yes.
I'm a stranger like you are because, and I wish, who said we ourselves from Kiambu, we don't visit our constituencies? We should do. We do. And
they consider it a walking distance.
and
not a driving distance.
Do you know the distance between Nairobi and the farthest point of Kiambu, a place called Gatuanyaga, and you are my neighbor there, towards Thika Road. It's a long distance. But because Parliament found to discriminate members of Kiambu, then I want to say I'm settled with it. But, strictly from, a lawmaker's point of view, I think we would need to fine-tune and give proper hygiene, financial hygiene to that, so that you don't have those kind of, scandals. And especially, there has to be a verification process, whereby, and if you ask me, the ideal should be that you should have a form that also shows your odometer readings, because it's paid per mile or per kilometer. And so if your odometer reads that you are at this number of kilometers on Friday evening, then your claim form on Monday should be showing that your odometer reading equals to the number of miles that you're being paid for, for that weekend trip. That should be proper, accountability.
Yeah.
If that is missing, then there is an extremely big loop. If I was one of the recipients, I would have already raised it by now. But because I am not, like I'm saying, I'm still learning on the go, just like you are. But I think that requires to be looked at more critically. If you have 550 members of parliament, and you have that kind of system in place, it can be abused. And if it was abused, then it would amount to a lot of hemorrhage of public funds.
Yeah.
And Senator, and you raise a good point around what's on your, odometer.
Yeah.
But you know that this only takes you to your home. There are some people, when you reach your home, from your home to the last point in your constituency is another 200-300 kilometers. So, if you travel to the last point in your constituency and come back to your home, that's another 400 kilometers. So if you read that, then the mileage claims might even spike higher. Because when you go home, you don't sit at home.
Right.
Because that was one of the issues that were raised. You don't sit at home. You actually crisscross your, constituency. You go distances and so on. So that's, anyway, I think that needs to be looked at the same time, also in recognition of the fact that you can actually travel much longer than you actually.
That will be solved a lot much easier on the resolution of that question of virtual sittings.
Yeah.
I would want to see a day in the very near future where members of parliament can comfortably sit in their constituencies and have robust debates online, on Zoom, whereby parliament itself is virtual, and you are still doing your work in your constituency, and you can have your debates, and then the next minute walk out of your office in the constituency and go and meet your people and implement your projects without having to fly or drive all the way to Nairobi. I think technology should avail that, very quickly, and we should be ready to embrace it.
Yeah.
I mean, what is wrong if today, my colleague here on the presidential side, if he wants to have a conference with somebody who is in New York now, he just needs to go into his conference room in his office, and he will log into a meeting with somebody who is in Dubai. The other one is in Paris. The other one is in New York, and Hong Kong. And you can have one meeting in a conference room. And the meeting is good. It's coherent. It's also it also has results, and it's productive. Why wouldn't Parliament look at the possibility in the very near future of having those virtual sittings? And then we could save a lot of money to the country in these mileage and the sitting allowances, because as I said, I don't know whether that virtual meeting would require a sitting allowance, because anyway, you could even have it when you're walking.
Okay. Let's shift gears now.